Well, folks, the Buffalo Bandits 2025 trade deadline is history in the history books, and the Bandits have made some moves today before the 3 o'clock deadline. We are going to go through all of them, all of our key departures, and all of our key acquisitions going into the remainder of the 2025 NLL season. The Bandits are 9-2 going into this year's deadline in first place in the NLL. So that means that they are going to be spenders. They will be making moves at the deadline, and making moves is exactly what the Buffalo Bandits did. We're going to start off with the first trade of the day when many of us thought that this would be the only move that the Buffalo Bandits would make. No, no, this is the opening act to the main event. Buffalo and San Diego make a trade. Buffalo acquires a 2026 second round draft pick and a conditional 2028 fourth round pick in exchange for practice squad member, forward Marquez White. I guess he is a San Diego native and he is a forward. Hopefully, he does get playing time down there in San Diego and he gets to go back home to his SoCal home. And every one of us thought this is it. This was supposed to be it for the Bandits. They weren't going to make any more moves. They're done. And we're going to have to ride it out and, hope Matt Vince and this defense can take us to another title. Didn't expect any transition depth or any offensive depth or any defensive depth whatsoever. And then 2 hours later, the nukes come out. We start seeing rumblings from writers from the Daily Dive, like Michael Carvallis comes out and he's dropping bombs, talking about a four-way trade between Ottawa, Buffalo, Vancouver, and Albany. And we're like, what is going on here? We're seeing a bunch of different sources saying rumblings are happening. Stay tuned. The deadline is not done. Moves are still being made. Moves are still being made official. And I think even before we get into some of the key acquisitions here for the Bandits in the next couple trades, we got to talk about Christian Del Bianco is now a member of the Vancouver Warriors. Calgary gave them a king's ransom, including a first rounder this year and I think 3 more draft picks in the next few years, and maybe a player as well for Christian Del Bianco. Christian Del Bianco is back in the National Lacrosse League, and the Bandits have a good shot at seeing him when the Vancouver Warriors come to the KeyBank Center on Saturday, March 29th. That'll be a great game for wrestling night. Christian Del Bianco will most likely be between the pipes. But we got to get into the trade between the Buffalo Bandits and the Ottawa Black Bears here. The Bandits acquire Angola, New York native who went to Lakeshore High School, I believe, transition Ron John, and a third-round draft pick in 2025. And Ottawa acquired in that trade forward Sam LaRue and a 2026 second-round pick. So Ron John, transition. We remember him very, very well through the New York Riptide days. Man, he was a tough SOB to face against, being a Bandits fan. He'd always make some great, crazy plays. Whenever he got the chance, he would score on us, make some big plays, get some key assists, and also drop back and play a little defense. So expect to see that out of a player like Ron John. I'm very, very excited to see him. And also, I was pumping his tires. I'm thinking, you know what? I remember saying in like December or January, if there's any way we can get him in the offseason, I love a player like Ron John on my team, especially due to the fact that, hey, you can never have too much, too many transition players. You can never have too much transition depth. I think Ron John would fit that very, very well. And I'm thinking, just wishing upon a star, I think this guy would make our team a whole lot better. And wouldn't you know it, right around 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon, we find out that Ron John is a member of the Buffalo Bandits, an Angola, New York native. I mean, a guy who's known this city very well, a guy who grew up in the suburbs of Buffalo. I bet you he can't wait to contend for a title and contend for a three-peat in 2025. Also, let's look at the other trade here that kind of caught me off guard a little bit. The Bandits acquired 35-year-old transition who's very, very versatile and can play out the back door on defense sometimes too. Kyle Matisse, longtime Minnesota / Georgia Swarm transition. Bandits acquired him and a 2028 fourth-round pick in exchange for a 2028 second-round pick. Now, he is 35 years old. I do like the trade, though. A second-rounder in 2028 for a player that's still very, very good in this NLL. Kyle Matisse has what it takes to drop back on defense, to make some key plays in transition. And you got to picture these three together. Kyle Matisse, Ron John, and Ian McKay are all going to be on the same floor. They're all going to be on the same team. They're all going to be on the same bench. This is massive. And it's not like the Bandits gave up so much to acquire these players either. I mean, we're looking at something that can help out this team tremendously. We know the injuries on defense. We know Dylan Robinson is out for God knows how long. Bryce Sweeting, we haven't seen him in what feels like ages, and he's still on the PUP list. I completely forgot he was still on the roster. He's not playing. And then obviously Matt Spanger, who's out with a lower body injury. We're not going to be seeing him for the rest of the year either. It's good to have these big-bodied guys drop back on defense and also get up in the fray on the offensive side of the ball and try to shoot and score as well. More so Ron John on the offensive side of the ball than Kyle Matisse, but Kyle Matisse is a big threat on defense. And if you want to see the full trade right here, 4 teams, 1 trade. Albany, Buffalo, Ottawa, and Vancouver. Albany received Jonathan Peshko. The Bandits total received Kyle Matisse, Ron John, a 3rd-round pick from Ottawa, and a 4th-round pick from Vancouver. And, yeah, Ottawa, this is a crazy one, too. I completely forgot to mention this one earlier because it's really not Bandits related. But Travis Longboat is leaving the Albany Firewolves and is now a member of the Ottawa Black Bears. He is going to Ottawa, going up to Canada and playing for them. Sam LaRue, also on the Ottawa Black Bears. Ottawa also received a 1st-round pick from Albany and a 4th-round pick from Las Vegas and a 4th-round pick from Vancouver. Vancouver received a 1st-round pick from Ottawa, a 2nd-round pick from Vancouver, and the 2nd-round pick from Buffalo for the Bandits to pick up Kyle Matisse. Massive 4-way trade. Adam Levy, Michael Carvallis were on it the entire time. Some of that information kind of got mixed up a little bit there in the middle, but the trades are finalized, and I can't wait to see these guys lace up and play in the Saddle Dome coming up this Saturday. This will be great. And my favorite part about this is the Bandits really didn't give up that much to acquire this much talent on the team. You're not giving up a Kyle Buchanan. You're not giving up a Chase Fraser. You're not giving up a Dylan Robinson. You're not giving up an Ian McKay to get any of these guys. You're trading away draft picks. Now, listen, the Bandits already have so many draft picks to begin with, and they even acquired some more here in this trade deadline. If you're fighting for that three-peat, who the hell needs prospects? Who the hell needs draft picks? I go by this saying all the time, and it's an MLB term that I always bring into lacrosse, and I bring into any other sport that I'm following. Parades over prospects. I'm sorry. I like the championship parades more than I like the idea of prospects. And the Bandits didn't even give up a 1st-rounder. The highest they gave up was a 2nd-rounder, I believe. 2026 2nd round. They also acquired a 2nd-round pick from San Diego. They gave away a 2nd-rounder to Ottawa. They are just dominating this deadline. Let's see. The Bandits have traded their 2nd-round selection in the 2028 draft to the Vancouver Warriors in exchange for Kyle Matisse and their 4th-round pick. That feels like a steal to me. The only thing about Kyle Matisse is that, yes, he is 35 years old. But look at this. Kyle Buchanan is right around the same age as well, and he's still really, really good. He's going to be playing in front of the best crowd in the National Lacrosse League. I mean, I remember seeing Kyle Matisse a lot. He spent a lot of years in Minnesota. He spent a lot of years in Georgia, and he's kind of been jumping around from team to team, but he's looking for the ring. And it was the trade deadline last year, and I emphasize this so much. It was the trade deadline last year that put the Bandits on the right course. We're going to go over the Calgary game tomorrow night. Don't worry about it. We will go over that tomorrow night and go over that the crap fest of a fourth quarter that game was. But if you remember, the Bandits were 5-6, 6-6, hanging around 500 when the deadline came around. They traded for Paul Dawson, and they turned into a way better team. Way better team. And I'm surprised that they didn't give the phone call to Adam Bomberry this year, help us out on defense a little bit. Maybe look internally inside the organization, maybe give Taylor Dooley a permanent spot on this defense. But they went above and beyond. They got Ron John, a very, very talented player, as well as Kyle Matisse, who is a very, very talented player as well. And they turned their season around last year. And the Bandits are clearly not messing around. Steve Dietrich was cooking in this trade deadline, not only receiving future draft picks, but acquiring guys that are ready to go and ready to win now. It's going to be a pretty good ending of the season here. And we'll see if the Bandits can repeat something that similar to what happened last year with all the prospects that they have in their prospect pool. But I would say, in hindsight, I mean, we haven't even seen these guys lace up in a Bandits uniform yet. And, obviously we haven't seen the draft picks and how they've turned out yet. But I would say it's a pretty solid draft. Very, very solid draft. I couldn't give you a letter grade on it, but I will say it's solid for being the number one team in the league. You're still contenders. You're looking for that third championship in a row for the first time since the 2010s Nighthawks. I think this was a very, very appropriate way to attack the deadline. Let me know what you guys think. Trevor Hauer from Banditland Boulevard going over the 2025 Bandit trade deadline moves. I still can't believe that Christian Del Bianco is now on Vancouver and Travis Longboat going to Ottawa. Absolutely nuts. But it should make a hell of an ending to this 2025 season. The March to May is going to be absolutely amazing to see going into this year, going into the postseason. Buckle up, put your seatbelt on, and let's ride. Let's try to get this third straight championship. I do think that we added some key weapons to make that third straight championship happen. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, let's go Bandits.